Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hammer Territory podcast. This is episode 215. I am your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you on a Sunday evening here in mid-June, and I'm joined, as I always am, by Scott Coleman. Scott, I'm going to throw things out at you right off the bat here. The Braves went 4-2 this week and won both series. Can you possibly think of a less exciting or more underwhelming way to go 4-2 and have two back-to-back winning series?
Isn't it almost like poetic that usually, most of the time, for people who have listened to this show for a long time, we would say, hey, 2 series wins, 4-2 week, a step in the right direction, a lot to talk about. But yeah, when you get embarrassed by the worst team in maybe the history of baseball on Father's Day, and happy Father's Day to all the dads out there, you get embarrassed in your home park. There's an off day on Monday. You have a huge series on the horizon with the Mets, and then you just get beat down. It totally killed the vibe. And man, in some ways it was fitting for this whole season.
It absolutely was. And you and I talked a few days ago about that previous series, which actually was a good series win. It would have been nice to sweep, but going in on the road and beating Milwaukee 2 out of 3 is actually a good result. But also in, I would say, uncharacteristic fashion for us in particular, we kind of said they got to sweep this weekend. And when you win the first 2 games and you're a minus 300 something favorite in the betting market on Sunday, and you get a really, really good, like, standout starting pitching performance, and you still lose by 9 runs, it's like, how are we supposed to sell that? You know what I mean? There's not really a lot of upbeat to be sharing with people today.
And series win be damned. The Braves really did not play that well this weekend against the Rockies.
No, they had a nice hitting explosion for like 3 innings.
Yes, they were dead in the water for 6 innings in game 1. Game 2 of the series was a normal game, scored early, no offense after that. Pitching was great. And then we know what happened on Sunday. It wasn't like the Braves just beat the Rockies down like quite literally everybody else has. The Colorado Rockies have 14 wins. 14. 2 of them came against the Atlanta Braves. Kind of says
both
it all.
In series finales. Both where the Braves not being able to score against the Rockies. There's some synergy there, but you're right. It's maddening. As always, we'll get into the games. If you're a new listener, first of all, welcome aboard. We appreciate you listening to the podcast or watching the podcast on YouTube. Please subscribe to the show. Just search Hammer Territory anywhere you find your podcast and listen. Do us a favor. If you like the show, want to support us, and you're super angry and you don't want to listen one day, just download the podcast. It's helpful for us to pay our mortgages, so to speak. If you're someone like Scott, who is living in a nice mansion there in Arizona. I'm kidding, but one more joke at the top of the show we have to throw out there, because longtime listeners will know this. The Braves are 3-8 on Sundays this season. Is there anything more on brand than that? Even when they're good, they don't win on Sundays, especially. And this year, it's even worse. So
even in the years where the Braves win 100 games, they just have this thing on Sundays. Maybe it's a podcast curse. Maybe it's just something weird with getaway day. I don't know. But yeah, for years now, the Braves have not been very good on Sundays, and they have been awful in 2025.
We're going to dive into the games like we always or typically would. I want to ask you a big picture thing to kind of reset this at the top, because this is the 70th game of the season. Nice round number. The Braves have played 43% of their games, roughly so. They're not halfway yet, but in a week and a half, they'll be at the halfway point of a season. You pulled this today about how well the Braves have to play now to even get to 90 wins, and 90 wins is not a guarantee of anything. As we're talking, there was a blockbuster trade. The Giants, who are a team the Braves have to contend with in the wild card race, just added Rafael Devers for potentially a song. We don't know what the final package is, but not a huge price, but it's less than what he is. So obviously 90 wins is no guarantee, but Scott, I'll ask you this because I know you know the answer. How well do the Braves have to play from this point forward to get to 90 wins, which again is not guaranteed anything?
So from this moment on, the Atlanta Braves have to play at a 104 win pace from now until the end of the season if they want to win 90 games, which, as you just said, does not guarantee anything. I think 90 games is going to get you in. With the Giants adding Devers, I think the Giants are looking good for it. They're tied with LA in the West too. The Phillies are right there. And then, San Diego, Milwaukee, St. Louis. I think that third wildcard spot is probably open, and maybe you could get in with like 88 or 89 wins, as the Braves did a year ago. But let's not overlook the point here. The Braves have to go upwards of 100 wins the rest of the way, a pace of more than 100 wins the rest of the way, if they want even a prayer of making the postseason. Have you seen anything from this team, Brad, that makes you think, all right, here comes the 100+ win pace for the next 3.5 months?
The only framing of that is that they did it for a month. They went 19-10 over about 4.5, 5 weeks. But that's not enough to sound. That's only because you asked me. Have you seen anything? If there's one thing to glom onto, it's that. But I don't really believe that right now. We've been sharing on the podcast. We're not picking the Braves to make the playoffs at this point. I think you'd be silly to pick them to do it. They can. Every time they lose, I don't know about you, I get a deluge of people saying the season's over every time they lose. And that's fine. I get it. The vibes are awful. And I even joked this morning when advertising the podcast on Twitter. I said the vibe will be much different win or lose today, even though they will have won both series. And guess what, Scott? The vibe is much different than it would have been if they won the game.
Yes.
Like, it just is. And it's one game. And I'm very analytical. It shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that way, where it's like one game on a Sunday changes the entire frame of mind for everybody. But when you play the Rockies, number one, and you lose to the Rockies in a game you're favored in, and all these things that we've already kind of touched on, we'll touch on again, it does swing things a little bit. And I'm not even going to do the bit that I would normally do about how winning series is great. Like, I do believe that, but it's such a hard sell when you are where they are to not, especially if they lost the first game and won the next two, it probably would have felt a little better. But why? Like, that's kind of silly in itself. Obviously, it's just kind of the way that the trajectory runs. But it is hard, and we're not going to do this every show, but it is hard to be like, super optimistic, despite the fact that objectively they had a good week. If you win 2/3 of your games over every week of the season, you're a 100-win baseball team. But when one of those series is at home against the Rockies and you don't sweep it, when you need to sweep it, and everyone probably knows that. The quotes after the game, they all knew. I mean, it's also funnier in some respects that they lost by 1 million. Like, if they lost 2-1, it would have been maddening. It would have been synergy with the previous Rockies loss, which also was a 2-1 game on a day when the Braves had an awesome starting pitcher. But then you got blown out in your home building on Sunday. Yeah. So vibe check, not great. And I stand by it. Like, it's about the worst feeling I've ever had after a series win. I mean, it's hilarious, yeah. But like, given where they are and the team they lost to, all those things, throw them in a recipe and say, here's the least exciting series win of all time.
Yeah, maybe that's the title of this podcast. The least
it might be
the least exciting series win, maybe the most frustrating series win of all time. Yeah, just more of the same for this baseball team. We're here. They're what, 9 games below 500 still. And what's been so frustrating this year is so many of the losses have been those one-run, skin of your teeth losses, and then to lose 10-1 to Colorado, and you had Grant Holmes almost set a franchise record for strikeouts on the same day. I know our parent company, Foul Territory, tweeted, they posted Grant Holmes' stat line against the Rockies, and they said, you'll never guess who won the game 10-1. If I would have told you this morning Grant Holmes struck out 15 hitters, we would have pre-recorded the show and said, all right, Braves won. I mean, it's just, again, it's somehow fitting with all the just horrible losses, truly horrible losses this team has had over the last few weeks. This one was a little unique, but it was also very on brand.
It absolutely was. And we will dive in our, I would say, trademark fashion to these games without maybe the every inning chronicling that we might do sometimes. We'll get into all of that, plus Profar coming back pretty soon, the Mets series, and more after a word from our sponsors on the show.
If you're one of those on-the-go people, or you're skipping meals but you don't want to, there's got to be a quicker solution. We've got one for you. It's called Huel. I'm going to take a swig. Cheers to Huel. This is the Black Edition, plant-based as well. Good for me. But what do you like about it?
I like the nutrition of it, and the replacement meal is great for me. Someone always on the go. Like, man, I can just grab one of these out of my fridge, lunch, breakfast, whatever it takes, whatever meal I'm not going to have time to eat. It fills me up. and it tastes great. You know why? Because it tastes like milkshake, ice cream, whatever you want to call it, whatever flavor you get is delicious.
35 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, 27 vitamins and minerals, low sugar. You can get yourself 15% off plus a free gift for new customers using the exclusive FT code FOUL, F-O-U-L, at Huel.com/FOUL. Please see our description for terms and conditions. Skip the stress, not the nutrition. Try Huel today for complete nutrition, bottled.
All right, Scott. Let's discuss the 2 wins because they were the first things that happened over the weekend.
Yeah.
So if you missed anything before the Rocky series, we discussed it on our podcast in numerous episodes with both with us and Sean and Steven. Friday's game was the blowout win. It ended up being a blowout win, but it did not feel that way, like in the slightest. The Braves were down 4-1 on Friday night in the 6th inning. And if anything, they were probably lucky to be down only 3 runs. Bryce Elder got rocked. He did not look good after his awesome start last week. And fast forward to say they won this. It was the inverse of today's game, where they win a game comfortably that they probably shouldn't have won comfortably. Today they lose comfortably the other direction. But how about this? A pair of 3-run homers? A pair of 3-run homers in the same game. In fact, they hadn't had a 3-run home run as a team since April. It was June 13th when they hit the 3-run home runs. They hit it back in back-to-back innings. They hadn't had one since April. That's insane. But hey, it's easier to win baseball games when you hit 3-run homers. That was like the 2023 team coming back for a minute.
It was, and for the first 6 innings of that game, I mean, it was just lifeless, and it was more the same for the offense. Braves had opportunities, could not capitalize. And in the moment, I tweeted, was Michael Harris's 3-run homer like the biggest swing of the season so far, or maybe the biggest home run swing, short of maybe a couple of the walk-offs and like extra innings, because of course those are game winners, and this one just tied it. But man, it's just good on the Braves for winning that game. I tell you what, man, Twitter was a dark place for the first few innings of that baseball game.
At 4-1, it was going to be. I guess it would have been like it was today in some respects.
Yeah.
But without the 2 wins, that's the first game of the series, and it's like, man, they're really going to do this. Like, you're going to lose to the Rockies in the first game of the series at home after an off day, and they had advantages up and down the roster and all these things. But yeah, Harris, great home run. We might have led with that if they had swept the series. There was a big swing for him. He's had a rough season. We all know that, but an awesome swing. And then Ozuna hits one the next inning. They score 11 unanswered runs. Like, that hasn't happened to this team many times, if any, this year. Like, they just exploded for 3 innings. Olsen had a big game. Acuna has been incredible. Murphy had a big game. We joked a lot about it. We did, Sean did, Steven did, about Alex Verdugo hitting second in the lineup on Friday. I hated that decision. I think everyone that thinks the way we do hated that decision, but it quote unquote worked. He had a good game. I used John. If you're listening on the podcast, I'm using giant air quotes as I don't believe this, but it did kind of work. I don't know how you would describe that, Scott, but I also wanted to mention. We could not mention it because that was like the story of the day until the game started on Friday.
Yeah. Look, man, Brian Stitker has won a lot of baseball games with the Atlanta Braves. He has a World Series ring, all of those things. But batting Verdugo second because he had a 3-hit game against German Marquez in 2019.
6 years ago. He has 8 career plate appearances. No, I think it's 9. 8 at bats, 1 walk, 9. And I believe 7 of them, maybe 6 of them were 6 years ago. That was the basis. And like, we were joking about that as the explanation. And then Snit confirmed that was the reason why he hit second based on that. It's like,
if I could bet my life savings before it came out, it had to be. And it did technically work. The Braves scored 12 runs. We're not going to, hey, I don't care. If you want to bet Nick Allen, if you want to bet Nick Allen first and Acuna ninth, if they're going to score 12 runs every night, then do it. It's better than this nonsense we've watched for the better part of 3 months now. But yeah, just funny the way it worked out. And of course, naturally, everybody was like, what on earth is this lineup? And then the Braves scored a ton of runs, very on brand. I just hope that Verdugo does not continue to bat second moving forward.
Yeah, that would be a bad decision, considering he's been quite bad for a while now for the Braves. I mentioned it in passing, but Bryce Elder had the start of his life in his last outing before this, so I'm not bagging on the guy. He's been good for the Braves overall this season, but he got 10 outs and allowed 10 base runners on Friday against the Rockies. That's not what you want to see. only 2 strikeouts. It might. Hopefully, that's not a sign of things to come because they do need him. He's going to pitch every 5th day or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the shakeup of the rotation later on in the podcast. But hopefully, that was a blip. But that was not a good follow up to his breakout start before that.
Not a good follow-up at all. And then you think about what Spencer Strider and what Grant Holmes did against this Rockies lineup. And then it's like, how on earth did Bryce get hit so hard? I mean, it could have been the Rockies had 4 runs. They were a hit or 2 away from having 7 runs, 8 runs, 9 runs. I mean, they had opportunities all over the place.
4 double plays they hit into in the game to kind of bail out not just Elder, but everybody in the rotation, everybody on the mound. If you look at kind of the expected numbers, the Rockies should have scored 7 or 8 runs. Like they did not sequence well. It was kind of they were the Braves for one night basically, where they couldn't get a big hit. It was all these bad. But anyway, Bryce did not look good at all, and hopefully a blip. But I have to at least acknowledge that as the only real bad part about Friday's game. Saturday was the inverse. It wasn't great offense, but it was unbelievable pitching from the Braves. Headlined by Spencer Strider, who threw 6 innings, allowed 3 hits, 1 walk, no earned runs, and 13 strikeouts. People that are worried about Strider are less worried today. It doesn't mean that any worry goes out the window. It was the Rockies. You give the caveat for sure, but he looked really good to me. He was throwing harder. Stuff looked good. Check box of a step forward, maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
Probably the biggest takeaway from the weekend was not only just the performance from Strider, but just he looked so much better. And he had 24 swing and misses in 6 innings. That is a terrific sign. His fastball velocity was up about 2 miles an hour. He hit 98 multiple times, and his slider had significantly more break. It had been pretty flat in a couple of his starts earlier this year, but he had more of that vertical drop, which is just why it's such a lethal pitch, because hitters think it's a fastball and then it turns right and hitters have no chance against it. So one start, we got to see how Strider looks again when he pitches against New York later this week. But that was really, really encouraging and very much a reminder of just how dominant Strider can be when he is healthy and feeling good.
Right. And we were not hand-waving the struggles he was having before. We weren't saying not to worry. We were kind of just saying, I don't want to speak for you, but like, let's just give it a little time.
Yeah.
Given that he had been gone so long and then had the setback. The hamstring that's not easy. Like when you're ramping up and you haven't pitched in a year and then suddenly you heard something else, that is not easy. And the velocity being up is a big thing. The stuff playing up is a big thing. Again, I know it's the Rockies, and that's why I'm not like dancing in the streets right now. But if you kind of just remove the Rockies-ness, and maybe he would not have given up 0 runs with 13 strikeouts against another offense, but he just looked better. Like his stuff was better, and that's what I really care about much more than the numbers, because we know, especially going to miss bats. Like he's a talented guy, obviously he's awesome, but that was a step forward, and also he was part of a franchise record. By the way, the Braves didn't score. The Braves struck out 19 combined in the game between Strider, Montero, and Dylan Lee. That is the modern era team record for a 9-inning game. 19 strikeouts. Obviously, you need a starter to do most of that damage, but he wasn't alone either. It was a fun game. Again, Rockies asterisk maybe on that number, but hey, it all counts.
Yeah, it all counts. And I think for Strider too, and I wanted to quickly mention this, I think maybe as fans and even as podcasters, we didn't give him enough grace coming back from the hamstring. I think because we've seen Strider be just so dominant for his entire career. Basically, since day one of coming up from the minors, we have never seen Spencer Strider not be great. So when he misses a full year, comes back, makes 1 start, and then gets shut down for like 5 or 6 weeks with the hamstring, that was probably a lot more difficult to fully come back from than we gave Spencer credit for or leeway for. And the fact that yesterday, over the weekend, that start was his 5th start since returning from the hamstring, I think the broadcast booth talked about it, and I tended to agree. That's generally kind of the progression that a pitcher makes in the spring, starting from 0, and then by their 5th or 6th start, they're really ramping and letting things go, and the velocity is normal. So hopefully it's a sign of things to come. Again, one last time, it is the Colorado Rockies. They are terrible. But I think you can dig in beyond just the performance and say, hey, the pitches look good. Strider looked good. He looked confident out there. The command was really sharp. And let's hope. I mean, if the Braves have any prayer of getting back into this thing, that's the Spencer Strider they're going to need every 5th day.
That's definitely right. And, offensively, it wasn't the best day, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit more in talking about Sunday's game. But Ronald Acuna, we should stop and acknowledge he homered on Saturday, his 7th home run in his first 20 games. Even with I think he went 1 for 2 with a walk today, so still a really good game. His OPS is like 1,200. He's on pace, on a full season pace for like a 12.5 WAR season. Like he's basically just an alien, and we talked about that earlier this week. But just double down on that. Like he's just ludicrous. And I there's this discussion happening about like if he can. And look, maybe there were some Angels parallels that we don't want the Braves to have with some of the numbers that happened today. Like if you weren't familiar with this, when Ohtani and Trout were on the Angels, they did these crazy things, and it was like, and the Angels lost 6-3. It was like Mike Trout hit 5 home runs, all these things. And then today with Grant Holmes was basically that. It's like Grant Holmes did this, and the Braves lost 10-1. Ronald Acuna is doing this, and the Braves are 31-39. It's not his fault. He's been incredible. I think they were probably trolling. I saw some people talking about like impact on winning today. I think they're maybe making fun of Jeffrey Core, my old classmate.
Oh yeah,
but Ronald's been everything he could possibly be, and it's baseball. You can only do so much, but he has been a very shining, bright star since his return.
I mean, the home run he had on Saturday wasn't even in the zone. It was 98 miles an hour and above the strike zone, and he just launched it. And he's such a special hitter. I will continue to tune in every night to watch Ronald Acuna Jr. play baseball. It may not be a lot of fun other than Acuna and a couple of the starting pitchers, and Matt Olson's having a good year. Well, he's turned it on lately, I would say. But we're looking for positives with this team right now, and Acuna is one of the very few on a nightly basis, and he's just such a fun player to watch.
He really is. And the bottom of the order, the bottom 5 guys in the order on Saturday combined to go 1 for 17 with no walks. And that unfortunately led into what we'll talk about in a second. Sunday's game, I promise everybody, we'll try to be diligent with our brevity on Sunday's game to not have the vibes go too bad. We'll get to that and more in a moment.
Kratz, you look different today. Do I see Chubby's shorts on your shoulder?
Oh, the sick design. I mean, don't even get it twisted too, because the lining normally is like an SOS pad. This lining that's in the center is so soft, so smooth. The outside, so many things to choose from on chubbyshorts.com.
Facts. And the code FOUL for 20% off. I got the Tiger Sharks.
Ooh-wee.
Little blend of a tiger and a shark. It's beautiful. So don't wait. For a very limited time, shop Chubby's biggest sale of the year, $45 shorts and up to 65% off select gear. Hit up chubbyshorts.com and grab your favorites before they're gone. If you miss the sale, then use the FT code, FOUL in lowercase for 20% off. Support FT, let them know we sent you when the survey asks, and get ready to turn some heads. Summer's here. Dress like it in Chubby's.
All right, Scott. An offense first loss. It's going to sound funny when they allowed 10 runs, but the game only played out that way because of the inability to score runs. I think that's probably fair to say. I have a qualm that I'll share in a minute with bullpen management, but you got to score runs. I mean, you score 1 run against the Rockies, you get what you deserve to some degree. Whether you lose 10-1 or 3-1 or whatever, you're probably going to lose. 1-0 is not a good expectation any night. You got to score more than 1 run. And you pull this number, the Braves scored 1 run in the last 12 innings of the series. Like, you just have to score. And maybe the most Braves part of Sunday's game, other than the weird loss, was the fact that when they did score their 1 run, they probably should have scored more than 1 run in an inning, which has been a Brave staple all year long. So I'll let you talk about it, but it was just, did they get 6 hits? It's like, that's not a terrible number for a game. It's not 2 walks. Like, you should have beat up on the Rockies. You should have scored more than 1 run. And offensively, like, almost no one was good today. And the fact that no one got multiple hits, it was just an outage that happened. Yeah. And it's 1 game, but it's also, you can't afford it.
Well, and Austin Gomber, who is pitching, who's not like a total nobody, but he's not good, was making, I believe, his first start of the season for Colorado. Yes. And the Braves were being no hit until the 5th inning. And it was on a bloop down the line that just hit the foul line. So, I mean, the Braves had nothing, man. They weren't hitting the ball hard. And you said it a minute ago, hitting 4 singles in a row with your first, second, third, and fourth hitters 4 singles in a row to start an inning with the top of your order, only resulting in 1 run is maybe the microcosm. That inning might have been the microcosm of this entire season.
And they got 6 hits in the game. That was 2/3 of their hits in the game. They got 4 of their 6 hits within like 3 minutes. So at least they sequenced them right. They just you make it out on the base pass. Like what are we doing?
Yeah, I couldn't even. Did Acuna overslide the base, and that's why he kept running home? It was kind of an awkward play. I don't know. Shrug is
in the box. It was funny. I looked it up to see how it was ruled because I was like, wow, that was a weird play. They ruled it to be a single.
Yeah.
But Acuna, who started the play on first base, made it out at home.
Yes.
Like, how often do you see that? Like that doesn't happen. Like Ronald, I love Ronald for taking the extra base. He's always been great at that. You don't usually see a guy making it out at home on a single when he starts at first. That's just one of those things that happened in this game.
It was a weird play, and then Olsen follows with a single. Ozuna drives in a run, so now we're tied. It's 1-1. Okay, Acuna's base running, whatever you want to call it, weirdness didn't come back to bite him. Now you have Ozzy Albies, who we should talk about here in a second. You have Sean Murphy due up. You have Michael Harris due up, and it turned to nothing. And just more of the same. Stop me if you've heard this before, but it was just the Braves offense in a nutshell all over again. And to only get 1 run, and then like 8 seconds into the top of the 7th, Grant Holmes gives up a homer, and then the avalanche was on, and the Braves just got embarrassed in their home park.
Yeah, I don't want to overstate how much this matters. That's my caveat. I really hated the way they managed the bullpen there. Holmes pitching again in that inning is fine with me. Whatever, he looked great in this game. We already kind of talked about it. Holmes, 15 strikeouts, 6 1/3. Like, you cannot pick on Grant Holmes. He allowed a home run there to lose the tie game. I don't care. But I mean, it's great. It would be better if that didn't happen. He isn't the problem. They didn't score enough runs. Now it's 2-1. You're losing. They bring in De Los Santos. We have not been high on him, I would say, as a podcast. I will at least acknowledge he has gotten good results the last couple weeks. Like, hasn't allowed a lot of runs. Peripherals are not great, but look, whatever. ERA, run prevention has been fine. So down a run, I was not losing my mind when he came in the game. Didn't love it, wasn't losing my mind. My issue was he comes in, looks awful right away. Allows a single, then walks in a run with the bases loaded. You got to face 3 batters. So, like, once he comes in, he's facing 3 batters. You're stuck at that point. But now he's faced 3 batters. He's allowed a single, and a walk for a run. But it's only 3-1. The game's not over. And for reasons passing understanding, they visit the mound and leave him in.
Yeah.
And then he allows basically the 2-run double that breaks the game open, and then you get blown out. Now, I'm not saying they would have won the game. They were down 3-1. They probably would have lost the game. I don't understand why he was still in the game. You got an off day tomorrow. He just looked terrible for 3 batters. I don't get it. So here we are. If this was Friday night, would I say this on the podcast? Maybe not. But that one blew my mind. I was like, wait, he's staying in. I mean, I assumed they were taking him out. I was doing something else. I looked up and I was like, wait, he's still in the game? Why is he still in the game?
Yeah. I don't know. It's
anyway,
and look, man, this was at the start. We said this is an offensive loss, which is very weird to say when your team loses 10-1. But we never should have gotten in this place in the first place.
No,
against the Rockies.
It should have been a competitive game, and it would have been different relievers coming in, and you still might have lost. If the Braves had scored 2 runs in that inning instead of 1, you still might lose the game. But I am confident it would have been 10-1.
Yes, and I can't even remember his name. Who's this reliever they keep bringing in who's like absolutely awful?
It's Ruiz. It's Ruiz, who they brought. Like, he was a guy that got a lot of the, especially like on Facebook, got a lot of the like Craig Kimbrell backlash because he's the guy they ended up with after they got rid of Kimbrell. He's not good.
He's awful. And I mean, at least with Kimbrell, he's cool. And like, we love Craig, and it'd be fun to watch him. I mean, if Kimbrell didn't have it, at least it's, a future maybe Hall of Famer we could watch, or Scott Blewett. We don't have to have the conversation, but really, this is your guy. I
almost forgot that Luke Williams pitched in this game.
I turned it off so fast.
Oh, I know. I did. I put it on my second TV. It was I have my 2 TVs set up. It was on my first TV. And when the game was over, I moved my second TV and I put the golf on my first TV. And I kind of looked up and I was like, who is that pitching? And I was like, oh, that's Luke Williams. That's a utility infielder. That's how you know things went well today, is that Luke Williams pitched for the Braves. Yeah. But no, it was bad. It was all bad. We should give the stat because it's hilarious. This is the one I kind of referenced earlier about the crazy Angels-like stat. Grant Holmes became the first pitcher or first team, however you want to put it, in baseball history to have 15 strikeouts in a game in which this team lost by 6 runs or more.
Jeez.
So if you strike out 15 batters in a game, it takes some real machinations to lose by even 5. But he's the first pitcher ever to have, in the history, baseball history is a long time, ever to have that many strikeouts and lose by 6 runs or more. And they lost by 9. It wasn't like it was only 6. They lost by 9 runs. So, hey, not your fault, Grant. You were awesome.
What are the odds in the last 8 days? Bryce Elder goes 8 innings and strikes out 12. Grant Holmes goes, 6+, strikes out 15, which was tied for second in franchise history for strikeouts by a starting pitcher with John frickin' Smoltz. And the only pitcher who's had more than 15 in Braves history was Spencer Strider a couple years ago. You have the second most strikeouts in the franchise history of the Atlanta Braves. You'll lose that game. You blew the Elder game. It's just, this is like a science experiment, Brad, to see how dumb a baseball team can be and how many dumb losses they can have until their fans just hit a total wall and breaking point.
I think we're almost there. If you listen to the podcast regularly, we might be there now. Let's just say we might be there now.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but we're getting close. I do have one more non-game thing to discuss from the weekend, kind of, and it's actually about this week coming up. And that is the fact that Jerxen Profar, or he that will not be talked about by a lot of Braves fans because he's been suspended for a long time, is getting closer. In fact, we got word this weekend that he'll be able to start his rehab assignment of sorts. Like basically when you're suspended, they let you start ramping up. He could play the minors as early as Tuesday, which that's 2 days from now. And he is now, according to Mark Bowman, projected to return, unless there's a rainout or something like that in the meantime, on July 2nd. So that's like 2 weeks from now. And given just how dire / awful, whatever adjective you want to use, left field has been all year long, we can probably assume he's going to play every day because they paid him. He's probably the best option, even with the downgrade of talent from last year, talent in quotation marks, all those things. I just want to bring this up because we're not there yet, but he'll be on the field in a minor league game on Tuesday. So it's like a story that matters. And hopefully the season isn't over when he comes back in 2 weeks, but it's a thing we should keep an eye on.
Jerxen Profar, he has some goodwill that he needs to garner back because for everything, and we don't have to rehash everything that happened over the last 12 months, but you ask a player in Major League Baseball, there is zero tolerance for cheating. And that's what Jerxen Profar did. He got caught cheating. He did the same thing that Manny Ramirez got caught cheating with 15, 20 years ago. And when you get popped for PEDs after just an unbelievable career best year and then get a team to commit $42 American million to your name, and then you get caught cheating 4 days into the season, this dude better perform or he's going to become even more of a whipping boy for the whole fan base because he put the Braves in such a bad position to lose an impact. He was going to lead off for the first 2 months until Acuna came back. Then he was going to be a middle of the order hitter. Clearly the Braves believed in him enough to give him this contract, and then he gets caught with PEDs. It's just Profar, man, you are going to have an enormous magnifying glass on you from day one, and this guy better perform. He might get booed, honestly. I think that's where my mentions, I mentioned Profar's name, and half my mentions, I think fairly, are like, F that guy.
Yeah,
he screwed this team over.
I don't think it's, I think he's going to have to be good to not be booed lustily. And it might happen in his first, I don't know if his first 0 for 4, he'll get booed. That's what's going to happen. I get it too. I'm not emotional about it, but it's obviously it's hurt the team quite badly. We can go through the numbers. We talked about it all season long, but just the current left field numbers are insane. They have a team.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it has killed this team.
Yeah,
They
it's
have a
awful.
0 in left. They have worse than a 0. They have negative WAR in left field because of Profar getting suspended.
That's right. I mean, just to put a number on it, that might be reference point. Braves left fielders, according to MLB.com, as of right this second, have combined for a 554 OPS this season. That is impossibly bad. Like that is Nick. That is worse than Nick Allen. Just for reference, that's worse than Nick Allen's offense. And Nick Allen is a platinum glove level shortstop, and he's okay despite his offense. And that's worse than Nick Allen's offense with not great defense. Like not terrible, but not great. So that's to your point, that's a negative below replacement level performance for an entire position group. And I know they got some money back for Profar that went into paying for Verdugo, for example, but he's been awful since the first week of the season, since he got here. Eli White predictably has cooled off to a large degree. So it's been a disaster. Like obviously there are other issues. Michael Harris has been one. We don't have to go through all of them, but the worst position on the field for the Braves this year has been left field.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the position that you signed the guy, your one splash signing from the winter. So I will take the bold stance that he can't be worse. Knock on wood, I guess. He can't be worse. Yeah. I can't imagine that because even though his defense, by the way, his defense is not good. And we knew that ahead of time. That was baked in. But the one thing that even when he was bad at times, he does take a walk, for instance, which is useful in this lineup. All these things. He also isn't like a lefty masher, but the Braves soundly can't hit left-handed pitching. Like I found this today. The Braves have a 657 OPS against lefties this year. That's terrible as a team. Like last year, when they had a bad season offensively, they had a 773 OPS against lefties. That's 118 points higher than it is right now. Profar will help with that, you would think too. So he isn't a savior, very clearly. Not a savior. He's not Ronald Acuna, none of that. But he should help. And again, the hope is, as we'll talk about in a second, when we talk about the schedule, they could be out of it in 2 weeks. They're not out of it now, as much as it feels that way. They're not out of it now. They could be in 2 weeks when he comes back. And if that happens, he'll get booed even more because it's like, hey, man, you ruined this for us. And it won't be all his fault. No one's saying that. But he has been a contributing factor, his absence.
And for reference point, you talk about being out of it. The Braves are 8 games out of the third and final wild card spot.
Which is a lot on June 15th. A lot.
With 4 teams ahead of them, I believe. Maybe 5. I think it's 5 teams ahead of them.
I think it's 5, yeah.
Yeah. So it's not impossible. And I promise you, we are not about to do a hopium, everything's going to be fine segment here. That is the farthest thing on Brad and I's mind. But they're not dead yet. But as we're going to talk about now, if the next 2 weeks are bad and they're about to play maybe 2 of the 3 best teams in the National League and maybe 2 of the 5 best teams in Major League Baseball over the next 2 weeks, we could be in a really dark place come July 1st.
As Scott just said, this is a big stretch. And we're not saying anything about the current state of affairs to say that. Like, unless they were out of it or unless they were, 50-20 right now, anything in between, this is going to be a big stretch because of the schedule the way it is. So just broadly speaking, the Braves have 10 of their next 13 games, aka 3 of the next 4 series against the Mets and Phillies. They're 2 rivals. And I want to be very clear. We said this before. I'll say it again now. Yes, they are division rivals. That's not why I'm bringing this up. The division is so far off my radar right now, I'm not even thinking about it.
Yep.
It's that they're really good teams. That's the thing here. This is a challenging bit of schedule. Yes, there's one Marlins series in there. That's obviously lighter in terms of challenge. But when you're playing, when you have to win, and we already established, the Braves have to win a lot of games now. When you have to win, and you're playing teams that are, at the moment, flat out better than you, but even in the rosiest thing imaginable, comparable to you at the absolute worst, they're better than you. That's what they are right now. But that makes your life hard. And that's 10 of the next 13 games, including, yes, this series is at home. This first one on Tuesday. It's the Mets. It's rivalry. It's ratcheted up. We didn't mention this before. We should talk about it now. The Braves did shift the rotation around a little bit to line up the Mets series, which I actually liked. And people, predictably, after they lost today, were like, well, if they hadn't changed – guys, short of Chris Sale throwing a shutout today, which I guess could have happened, that was not why they lost today. So if Holmes got blown up today, they would have gotten killed for making this change, and rightfully so. But when Holmes pitches like that, I don't really care. But basically what they did was, if you missed this, they pushed Chris Sale back to face the Mets, which I was okay with. It made total sense to me. You're playing the Rockies. You're still massive favorites with Holmes on the mound. I know you lost. It is what it is. But it does set up headline-grabbing matchups. Schwellenbach, Sale, Strider, 1, 2, 3 in some order on this rotation, facing the Mets. And, like, you don't want to overstate it, but, like, if they get swept this week, if they get swept by the Mets with Strider, Sale, and Schwellenbach, I don't know about Scott. You'll have trouble getting me, the eternal rational person, to not come on here and be like, it's over. If they get swept, I might be the one saying it's over. And I never do that. Yeah. So don't get swept, please.
Don't get swept. And, I know they just came off one of the worst losses of the season, but taking 2 out of 3 against the Mets would be a successful series. No questions asked.
This is not the Rockies. Yes. Win the series.
Correct. And then you have the Marlins, who are pretty terrible. And then you have the Phillies and the Mets again next weekend. So this is going to be a real challenge. This kind of feels like, not kind of, this feels like the season hangs in the balance over the next 2 weeks. They have 13 games, I believe.
Yeah.
And again, we're not talking NL East. The Braves have 13 games left against the New York Mets. The Braves are 13 games back of the New York Mets. So Atlanta could sweep the Mets in all 4 series the rest of the way. And they would be tied atop the division, Brad, tied. So NL East, just take it, throw it out of your hat. We'll try again in 2026. But the wild card is still there. And if you want to have any prayer of having a fun summer where you're playing catch up and you're going to have to keep winning series, it starts with the Mets. They're a very good team. The Braves have their pitching lined up as best as they can have it lined up. See what happens. And if they, dear God, if they get swept on this week at home by the Mets, that would be like, we might do a 4-man podcast and we'll just take turns screaming for 5 minutes and then say, thanks everybody.
Yeah.
Visit our sponsors. Good. Have a good night.
I'm good. Yeah, no, I think you agree with me, but if you don't, let me know. I am not saying they can save the season over the next 2 weeks, but they can put the season in the grave over the next 2 weeks. Like, obviously, if they go 12-1, then yeah, maybe you save the season. I'm not saying you can't save the season. I shouldn't say that. Like, if they go 12-1, that's not likely at all to happen. But if they did it, all right, you're over 500 again. You're feeling pretty good. You're 12. That would be enough to be like, get me excited again, to be honest.
Or even like 10-3 or something.
Yeah, 10-3, you're back to 500 basically. Yeah, I get that. Like, the job is not even close to done at that point, but you may have like somewhat kept it on the rails. What I am saying more as like, they could honestly, here's to bring it full circle from the beginning of this podcast. They could go out in the next 4 series and win all 4, go 8-5, and be in trouble still. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we are all about stacking series wins, and I stand by that. But that doesn't do anything for you. I mean, it helps you, obviously, but what you can't do is go out and go 4-9 and dig the hole even further. I guess.
Oh, it's over.
So
yeah,
right. So I don't want to. We don't want to overstate it. But between the challenge of playing good teams, the Marlins are not good, but the Mets and Phillies are legitimately good teams, and the stakes and the hole you dug, it's a lot of emphasis. Like, it's crazy how big this feels in June. It's the Mets. Like, I hate the Mets. I'm the age where the Mets are the team that I hate of Braves people. We talked about this before. I'm of that age. I shouldn't feel this way about a series in mid-June, even then, with the Mets. Like, this is big, man. And they also placed, I don't know if they did this on purpose, they also really did put a spotlight on this series by doing the pitching that they did. It was like, hey, man, we are going balls to the wall here for a 3-gamer in June. And they did. And if you lose the series, we don't doing that. Whew, man, the vibes. I mean, we talk about the vibes all the time. Thursday, I don't know which some of us will be on the podcast after the game on Thursday. If they lose the series, man, it's going to be mirroring perhaps some of the ones while you were in Hawaii in terms of vibes. I don't know. Yeah, it's tough. Win, please.
Yes, win some baseball games. It's It is make or break, truly. And full circle, they went 4-2 this week. That is fine. In a vacuum, fine. We said they need to go 5-1. They should have gone 5-1. They should not have lost to the Rockies again. But 4-2 is not going to kill you the second week of June. But these next 2 weeks, man, Brad, this is it. This is the season. I agree. I think what you said a moment ago is perfect. They can't come all the way back unless they go crazy and like sweep 3 of these series or something.
Yeah.
But if they have a bad next 2 weeks, it could be like actually over. Not like I tweet something and the same 11 people go, "Oh, this team sucks. I'll trade everybody other than Acuna." No, I'm not.
No, there is a way. You're right. There is a way. 2 weeks from today, you and I do a podcast, June 29th. There is a way this goes where even like joking aside, I might be like, the season's over. Like if they go 3-10, 4-9 in the next 2 weeks, they won't be mathematically eliminated, but you'll be down to 5%.
Yeah.
And right now they're not. Like it might feel that way. Right now they're like 20%, which isn't great either, but that's not 5%. That's 4 times less, in fact. So I don't know, man. It's big. We don't want to overstate it, but it's a big, big time. And this first series is maybe the biggest of all because the way they line this up. Like you got your 3 big guns, the 3 S's in order. It's Schwellenbach Tuesday, Sale Wednesday, Strider on Thursday. You're firing your bullets. Schwelly against David Peterson on Tuesday is an awesome matchup. We won't preview the whole series in detail, but that's an awesome matchup. Peterson's really good. Like that's not even a huge Braves advantage. Schwellenbach's better, but not by a ton. Like Peterson has a sub-3 ERA for the last 2 years. He's really good. And the Mets are good. So load them up, boys.
Yep. Yeah, really good. I mean, good pitching in all 3 games. David Peterson against Schwellenbach. Paul Blackburn just returned, but Blackburn against Chris Sale, probably the biggest advantage the Braves have of the 3 pitching matchups. And then Clay Holmes against Spencer Strider in the finale. Holmes has been good this year. Maybe not. There might be a little bit of smoke and mirrors with his performance so far, but on the whole, Holmes, who was converted to being a reliever a year ago, has been good for New York. I mean, the Mets are a really well-rounded team. They hit for power. They have a deep lineup. I think, though, Francisco Lindor's battling. I think New York actually got swept this weekend by the Tampa Bay Rays, so maybe the Braves are getting them at a bad time. I don't know. They also got the Diamondbacks when they were really, really bad, and we know what happened there. So big week, big series ahead against New York. We'll see. I mean, it is truly now or never for this season.
We will see. Scott, first of all, thank you for doing this on Father's Day. Here we are. Anything to plug before we get out of here? And if not, where can folks find your day-to-day musings, which include Tiger Woods memes and general anger? Sometimes it's positive, but not lately.
Yeah, and my Arizona Wildcats got eliminated from the College World Series on Sunday. So baseball has just not been real fun the last couple of weeks for me, Brad. But yeah, College World Series is a great event. I would love to get to Omaha one day and take that in with all the fans and everything, but maybe do some Jello shots. I am at Scott Coleman 55 on Twitter, socials if you want to follow there. And as always, a big thank you to everybody for tuning into the show.
Absolutely. Thank you to everyone for listening. Please subscribe if you've not found us already somewhere else or found us for the first time. We appreciate you listening, but please stick around. Join us all the time. We average, 4-ish shows per week during the season. It's a lot of content, but we are here churning it out for you. Sundays is pretty much always we'll be there, and then sometimes during the week, whatever times and dates and hours and whatever we can, we'll be here. But please subscribe, ratings, reviews, tell your friends about the podcast. Follow Scott, follow us on social media at Hammer Territory, and we'll see everybody next time.